Good morning, everyone. I am here with Catie Cutler, my podcast partner. I am Ashlee Bunkelman, and we are here on behalf of Peeling Back the Truth podcast. And this is number 17, and we're going to talk about pigmentation problems.
Yes,
Hi, Catie.
pigmentation. Hi. Pigmentation seems to come up often in medical aesthetics. It is a definite concern for, I would say 90% of clients, even though they have other concerns. Pigment always seems to come up in some type of way, whether it's pigmentation from the sun, melasma, pigmentation from trauma. You know, everyone's concerned. They want that clear face with no pigment on the skin. So before we talk about ways to improve pigmentation, let's talk about how does pigmentation come about? Like, why do we have it? What is it from? Who's more likely to get it? And, you know, just the basic causes of it.
I love this topic. And I kind of want to start with this. I years ago was told that I just had sun damage. This was years and years ago. I was told at my local derm that I had sun damage, and I just didn't think anything of it. This is before I was in aesthetics. So, 20 years ago.
Right.
And I come to find out, when I got into the industry and I kind of started dissecting things more and going over things, I realized I didn't have pigmentation issues from sun exposure. I had the condition that we talk about all the time, Catie, melasma. And it obviously was much more identifiable when I had children. I had I always say the chocolate milk mustache, because my kids literally used to say it looked like I had. Right. So my kids used to say it looked like I had a chocolate milk mustache. And I was like, gee, thanks. That's nice. And the football stripes. So melasma, I want to touch base first on that, if you don't mind, Catie, just because that's kind of near and dear to me. My pigmentation wasn't like your traditional freckling, if you will, or sunspots, if you will. It was more of a mask, like you just said, Catie. A lot of times people call melasma a mask of pregnancy. A lot of times people, and everybody says things that don't make a ton of sense to the public, and I feel like we can kind of dive deeper into it today. So let's start with melasma.
So I find with melasma, one of the problems that we see a lot in offices and for patients, they're diagnosed improperly. So they're diagnosed with pigmentation problems when really it's melasma. So ways that we can tell the difference between melasma and regular pigmentation are: one, melasma always mirrors itself. Okay, so if it's on the right, it's on the left. Okay, so if it's up here and it's on both sides, it's melasma, and it looks very similar. Here on the cheekbone, very common in Asian skin. It's, you see melasma here a lot. So if you see that mirroring of the melasma, it's very common that on the upper lip on both sides, another common area. So all women do get melasma in different areas, but if it mirrors itself, we know it's melasma. It also has a different look to it than regular pigmentation. It's kind of, I don't want to say spotted, but
splotch. It's like a splotch.
It's splotchy. Yes, it's blotchy on both sides. And if you think about it, a lot of times it's caused during some type of hormonal scenario, like a woman goes on birth control, or a woman has a baby, or she's starting to go through menopause, or some type of hormonal change in her life is what caused the melasma to activate. That being said, melasma is a condition. It isn't something that you get from outside sources, say like UVA, UVB, free radicals, trauma. It's something that's caused from the inside. Sorry.
And typically, I just want to touch base on that. UV light can help promote melasma, but it's more
Yes.
internalized from your body's reaction to
Yes.
that UV light or the infrared light, which is causing heat and
Heat
trauma to the
is
skin.
it heat causes melasma to be more activated. So people think, oh, well, the sun caused my melasma. No, it doesn't cause your melasma. It stimulates your melasma and causes it to be more visual.
And I think
So
and I think also it's important to say to our viewers, like you said, how it mirrors itself doesn't necessarily mean that the brown here is always going to be prevalent on each sides equally, for example, or the reds, the underlying reds. If you look, like we do an analysis device at our office where we can see your skin from the inside out and the outside in. We can
mhm,
look at it from your UV light. We can look at it from that infrared light and look at all of those diagrams. Sometimes it's more prevalent on one side
yes,
superficially than it is on the other side, but it's always there mirroring
yes,
itself.
mhm,
And oftentimes, and I know that obviously we know this, Catie, but a lot of people don't. Your left side is a lot more prevalent sometimes just because of that heat
yes.
coming in when you're driving a
When
car a
you're
lot
driving.
and the environmental toxins and damage with that. But I think it's really important for people to understand, like you just said, it's a condition. We can help clear it in the aesthetic industry, but we can't cure it. It's always going to be there.
Yes.
Um, and whether your melanocytes are really overexposed or they're kind of calmed down. And I just read an article the other day, which I found very interesting on women between the ages of 25 to 50. They are showing almost 80% significancy of women getting melasma in that age group. And a lot of it has to do with birth control at a young age, overuse of antibiotics,
Absolutely.
and then obviously the heat. I mean, people in the age bracket, I would say more higher than 25, love to soak themselves and bake themselves in the sun. When I was younger, I was a person that did it. And I realized I was getting the melasma, which was called something completely different. I was diagnosed wrong when I was in a tanning bed. And I just said that.
But like,
Yes, I did a tanning
let's
bed.
just reiterate what you said initially. Although going in the tanning bed makes the melasma look more obvious, it
Yep.
is not the cause of it.
No,
It is just making it come out.
more prevalent
Yes,
because the
because
and
of
the
the
heat.
heat and the yes. So that's where the confusion lies. So when we're trying to improve melasma as a practitioner, we're very limited on the things that we can do because the majority of the devices that we use are heat based
Mm-hmm,
or trauma based that
mm-hmm.
could activate melasma. So people are very fearful of treating melasma. This is why the Arrowlace Neo is literally the only laser device that I will use to treat melasma. And because of that 650 microsecond pulse, the way that the energy goes in and out of the skin quickly without
The
heating up that
trauma.
surrounding tissue, it's able to help the melasma clear by working on the hypervascular and breaking up the pigmentation. Not only is it working on the symptom, which is what we see,
Mm-hmm.
but it's working on what's causing the melasma. Unlike other devices, IPL, BBL, that work only on the symptom because it's completely epidermal, we're actually going deep and working on the cause of the melasma.
And I'm glad you said the vascularity portion of it too. Melasma is not just pigment.
No,
Melasma has vascularity in it as well. So
yes,
patients sometimes don't even realize they have melasma because they might see more red than they do brown because they mimic one another. And I
yes,
think that that's really important that we talk about how you just said, like an average IPL on the market or a BBL on the market. It's not going to help long term do those types of things. It's going to be short term, quick fix. But the second that patient has heat exposure to their skin or hormonal imbalancing, anything of that nature, it's going to be more prevalent than it was prior, even because you're not getting deep down and treating that symptom.
yes. And the other thing I find with melasma, I know you and I have talked about this, A lot of times when women have active melasma,
Mhm.
the melasma is coming out when they're in the heat, the sun, whatever. And every time it comes out stronger, that pigment forms and then it just stays there. So it doesn't go away because your skin is not exfoliating itself enough. So that's why exfoliation is also very important with melasma, because if you don't exfoliate, that pigment is just going to build up,
Lie there.
build up and build up. So then when you do get it treated with with the Arelase Neo, with a chemical peel, it has to go through all this dead pigmented skin,
Mhm.
wasting energy on this dead pigmented skin laying on top when we want it to go right to the source. So a way to eliminate that is to exfoliate that skin manually in office with, say a dermaplane or, whatever you can use to exfoliate. And another good thing to do with melasma is after you do treat with melasma, cool the skin, with even if it's a simple ice pack,
Mhm.
just cool
For
them off
5 seconds.
for 5 seconds. And it's not absolutely necessary with the Arelase Neo, but it can't hurt. And why not?
Why
Because
not?
we
Be
don't
safe.
want heat. We don't want heat in the melasma.
And I'm glad that you talked about the dermaplaning. I, in clinic, love the response with epidermal melasma and dermal melasma because we're trying to get all of that pigment off and exfoliate it rather than putting them on harsh exfoliators that make their skin raw, red, dehydrated, don't turn their cycle and their barrier over correctly. Just doing that quick dermaplane in office prior to an Arelase can be such a huge success because then the actual laser isn't forming through all the extra underlying tissues that it doesn't need to go through. It's
Right.
actually going to that root cause.
And it's a similar concept of when we use dermaplane for absorption of product,
Uh-huh.
we're basically using dermaplane for better absorption of the
Of
laser,
energy.
because
Exactly.
the laser energy is not wasted on that pigmentation lying on top of the skin. And really that can be said about regular pigmentation too. If someone has sun pigmentation, if they say they have a sunspot here, I'll sometimes take a 10 blade and just, if there's crust on it, get it
Get
off
it gone.
before I treat with the laser, because it just makes sense.
Absolutely.
Really makes sense. And a lot of times people, when you tell them that, they're like, wow, that really, that's a really good idea, because you really are just wasting laser energy that could be going straight to the source.
Absolutely. And I think it's also imperative that as we talk about this, Catie, the importance of sunscreen.
Oh, yes.
Like and it's so funny because I love all these like TikToks and Instagram things that are going around about patients spending thousands of dollars on the treatments, but then they get to that desk and they're like, I have like my generic store brand SPF. It's a spray and I don't need this one. If people are going to make the investment for in-house clinical skincare in a medical aesthetic practice, they absolutely have to pay the bill for their skin SPF. If they don't do that, we're doing them a disservice. I have physically said to my
Sunscreen,
patients
right.
before, I would rather you invest the money in your sunscreen to get healthy tissue and then come back for the laser if you have to choose one.
100%. And, and it's not just any sunscreen. Let's remind everybody that
Medical
it
grade.
needs to be a mineral-based, broad spectrum sunscreen,
Medical grade.
medical grade from
Yes.
your clinic. And it needs to be something, that is protecting from not just the actual burn, the sun, but it's also protecting from free radicals.
And if the clinic you go to, if you're questioning, oh, is this sunscreen great? Say to them, do you have like the scientific studies on this sunscreen? Most medical practices are using medical grade sunscreen out there, honestly. So it should be. But I mean, it's crazy because I don't have one favorite sunscreen. I have a plethora of favorite sunscreens, and I know you do.
Years ago,
as
I
well.
feel like there was like a couple out there. Now every skincare line has one. and the majority of them have tinted, which I
Mhm.
happen to love. Like
I
I
love.
have a tinted sunscreen on today, and it's a bronzing tinted. It's by Color Science.
Mhm.
So it's a bronzing tinted sunscreen. So it takes the place of my, like, any coverage I would want. It makes me look like I have a little bit of color in my skin.
Mhm.
And it also has great ingredients in it and is good for my skin. So, I love this product, but there's a lot of products out there I love. Aven, I love their tinted sunscreen.
Their
I
fluid
think
is so
it
amazing.
really depend. Aven also has a little packet, what do you call a compact,
Compact.
and
SPF
it
50.
goes on so nice with an SPF 50. There's so many different, and it's really like for you is the texture and what do you like on your skin. I don't really like something heavy on my skin. I like it to just feel like a moisturizer. I don't want it to feel like I have something.
Gunky, like goop. Um, I I also love Glytone SPF 40 serum. They
I
have a
love
serum
this.
that's super thin. It doesn't have a tint, but I love it. I actually have a tinted sunscreen on today as well. It's by Skin Better Science, called Tone Smart
I
SPF
love to
75,
start.
because
Mm-hmm.
it blurs my pores.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a learning curve when I started using it though, because it feels really thick and chalky, but you have
But
to massage it
you have to like melt it.
to liquefy it.
Yep.
Exactly. So,
A lot
and
of them are like that. You can't, like, you think you need a lot, but literally with this bronzing one that I use, I literally put
just one
a
squirt.
tiny dot and then I melt it in my hands really good. And then I apply.
And then one of our fan favorites at our med spa in Michigan is an Aerofitona Ageless SPF
Mm-hmm.
50. It has repairazomes in it. It has coenzyme Q10. So for everybody listening out there, pay attention to the ingredients in your SPFs that you're getting recommended. So you know that it's a safe, smart, effective SPF, and know that you absolutely need that. You 100% need that, especially with
If
summer
you're
coming
going to
around the
put
corner. But every
SPF
day.
on, if you're going to have it on your skin, it might as well be something that's going to work for your skin, and have really good ingredients in it. So it's not just protecting you from the sun, it's also giving your skin nutrition and really helping with your skincare regimen.
And I am a firm believer, and I don't know about you, Catie, and this is with all pigmentation, more so melasma. You need to have a heavy dose of antioxidants on during the day. A nice vitamin C, a heavy dose of antioxidants. It helps protect your skin from free radical damage and pollutants in the air. And I hate to say this, Catie, and I don't know if you agree or disagree. Normally we agree with each other. People that are being told to wear a vitamin C during the evening, you don't need a vitamin C in the evening. Unless you're a night walker and you're sleeping all day and, like, I don't know, living in Alaska, sunbathing in the middle of the night. I don't know. I don't have an excuse or a reason for that.
I'm a firm
Just
believer on vitamin C in the morning, retinol at night.
exactly. Your exfoliators, your treatment products in the evening, 100%. So I knew we'd agree on this. Obviously,
But just real quick with the vitamin C and any antioxidants that we put on our skin, it's kind of like almost, if you can look at it over time, after you use a vitamin C over a decent amount of time, you are actually building up your own natural protection from free radicals and from the sun. Okay. So is it in place of sunscreen? Absolutely not. But it definitely is helping to for you to be able to protect yourself from the sun more, like, than if you weren't using it.
I always say it creates, like, the way that I look at it is, if you're using it longevity wise, like you said, it creates almost like a fighting shield, but
It
you
is.
still need the
Mhm.
SPF on top.
Yeah.
And just side note, Catie, I have to tell you, my daughter went to, she's a waitress at a Coney Island, and she went to a table, and this table told her to never use sunscreen, to only drink tons of this woman is like very granola, which I love. I love all of that. But she told my daughter that she should never use an SPF on her face, that she should only drink massive amounts of tomato juice
Oh,
for
geez.
the acidity. And my daughter just stood there thinking, like, do you know what my mom does for a living?
I know. It's
And so
people
when the
come up
lady
with different-
when the lady laughed, my daughter was talking to the other girl that was shadowing her because she was training, I think. And she's like, just so you know, that is completely wrong. And if you want to know why, you should talk to my mom.
It is crazy. And if, sometimes people worry about, there are sunblock out there
Yes.
that has bad fruit, ingredients that are, there are the ones you will
Full
get.
of filler,
Yes.
parabens.
But the
Yes.
sunscreen we're talking about now is good for your skin. And it is important that you look at the ingredients in everything. People, I'm just going to say this out loud. We have to stop listening to social media. There are a lot of
TikTok.
things on social media that are, good information, but there is, I would say, it's like 50-50. You can't listen to every word you hear on social media. You have to do your own research and find out, is this person you're listening to credible?
And like you just said, the influencers, they are exploding over the internet and social media, and a lot of them don't have correct information. And
No,
I
and they're getting
some
paid
do,
to
but
push products. Like,
exactly.
they're not just pushing the products because they really like them. They're getting paid to push certain products. So, things come up that are sold in Sephora or Ulta, and, they tell us,
Some
"Oh,
are good
like
there, but
this."
some are not good.
Yeah, and it's not always true. So you have to really look at the credibility of that influencer, and are they
Absolutely.
a licensed person? Who are they? What, are they getting their information?
What's making them the expert on this
Exactly.
whatever product,
Yeah.
just because they're getting paid by saying this is great, this is great. And Catie, I'm glad that you brought that up, because I think it's important for all of our viewers to understand, you and I do this as a hobby. This
Yes.
is like our hobby. This is our baby that we're growing, and we're not getting like anything out of it other than pure satisfaction with each other and collaborating with each other. We're not getting paid all this endorsement money from whatever we
No.
talk about. This is just purely you and I having a hobby, which my husband doesn't understand it, and I'm sure yours doesn't either, but he loves it for me. And it's just us chatting about skincare because that is one of our favorite hobbies. So
Well, and
I
like
want everybody to know that we just do
fashion,
this because we love it.
we just want to get real information out there.
Yeah.
And, we have a lot, Ashlee and I are trainers. So we train for Hourlace, and we have a lot of accounts. We've probably both trained, hundreds of accounts. And our accounts, we say, come and listen to our podcast, because people are looking for information. They're new to the industry and they don't have good information.
Mhm.
And the podcast helps to educate them. And that's another reason that we do this.
And I
For
hope we do educate people with
accounts.
this. So that's
Yeah,
great.
I mean, that's really our main cause. We're not doing it to be famous.
Right. Yeah, we're not famous. Yeah.
But
Not yet, Catie. Not yet.
not yet. Back to
So
pigmentation.
yes, I feel like we covered melasma.
Yeah, we
So
spoke
let's
about melasma. So just to break melasma down, melasma is a condition.
Mhm.
It is very sensitive to heat. It is caused from hormonal things that go on in our bodies. And it can be treated safely with the Arolace Neo. Okay. And it does an amazing job. But besides that, I don't really recommend ever using a heat-based device on melasma.
And some chemical peels will be great with it as well, in
Yes,
combination
some
with
chemical
Aerolase.
peels.
And
Yes,
I do Aerolase and a peel same day with melasma. It works out
absolutely.
fantastically, or one of the other. But please know that what people say out there with other devices
It's not true.
that are more heat based or intense pulse light based, it's going to aggravate more in the end than what it's going to do for you in a positive way.
Yes. So if someone tries to do IPL on your melasma, say no.
I have this conversation probably 5 times a week in clinic, because I like to show people that skin analysis, looking in the inside and the outside. The only that broadband light or intense pulse light, where it lies is right where that melanocyte is. So why would we want to overexpose it and create more heat and injury to that? then treat that. So yes, patients, everybody that's listening right now, don't do that.
Don't
And
do
I
it.
know, and I know some people are going to disagree with us, Katie, but
Well, they can
it's,
disagree, but
but it's science.
factual.
It's
It's
science. It's
factual.
facts.
Yeah.
So, with that though, let's get into other pigmentation.
Yes.
If you, oh, and side note, men can also get melasma, everybody.
Yes.
Just so you know,
it's
not
much
as
less
common,
but it can happen.
but it can happen.
Yeah. So other pigmentation that we would talk about is pigmentation. And I like to talk about how pigmentation is usually caused by some type of trauma. So trauma from the sun, trauma
Like
from
sunburn.
an injury. So trauma from picking at your face, different types of trauma.
Cystic acne.
Cystic acne, something that happened to your skin that left this residual pigmentation. So we're going to talk about that type of pigmentation now, and then we can get into lentogens, which are like freckles that are more hereditary, but we'll talk about pigment that comes from outside sources. So melasma was coming from the inside. Now we have pigmentation that's caused from the outside. And this is sunspots, age spots, and trauma and scarring.
PIH.
Yes.
Also known as post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation. If anybody ever says that out there and you're like clueless on what it is, we call it PIH.
Yes. So this is, a little bit easier to get, clear on the skin because it's not being fed from the inside.
Within.
You're right. So we can work on it easier and, remove it. Okay. But we don't know how far unless we use the camera, like you were talking about. We don't know how deep this pigment truly is into the skin. So if the pigment is a deeper pigmented lesion, then it's going to take longer to remove properly. So once again, going back to IPL will give you a wow factor with pigment because it's removing epidermal pigment.
Superficial, yep.
The Arolase Neo is going to give you a more long-term removal of pigment because it's pulling it from deeper in the skin. Okay. So it might take a little longer to get it out, but it's because it's working on the condition, the hypervascular, and it's also working on the symptom that we see on the outside. One thing that is a fact, pigment will always look darker during a treatment before it gets lighter. So
Absolutely.
You get a treatment for pigment and it looks darker when you're leaving your med spa or doctor's office. This is totally normal and it is part of the process.
And I had an account the other day, Katie, say to me, I love Arolase. I love everything Arolase is doing, but it's not clearing pigment the way that an intense pulse light or broadband light would right off the bat. And this is what I said to her. I said, okay, think about, obviously it's springtime right now. A lot of people are working in their garden. If you're not pulling the weed out by the root, it's going to keep coming back. So they have instant gratification with one of those devices, but it's going to continue to come back the moment you overexpose your melanocytes or trauma to the skin. It will come back because you're not treating the root of it.
You're not deeper pigment. You're just treating the symptom. So it's going to take it off the top, but as soon as you're exposed again to the sun, it's going to come right back. Where with Arolase Neo removal of pigmentation, it will be long-term. So I had a lot of pigment on my cheeks before I used Arolase. So now with, using sunscreen, it doesn't just come back as soon as I go out in the sun. Let's say I ran to the mailbox or went out in my car and I didn't have my sunscreen on yet. If I just had an IPL, it's going to bring my sunspot out right away. Even, I don't know if people recognize this, but even self-tanner can bring out pigmentation, which is so, people don't understand why.
I am so glad you talked about this. It drives me nuts. I don't
self tanner.
So if people want to do self tanner on their body, that's one thing. I am very, very against self
Not
tanner
on
on
your
their
face.
face. If you're taking care of your face in a clinical aesthetic practice, you should not do self tanner on your face. Use something like Catie just talked about that's more of a
Yes.
bronzer tinted SPF. Maybe apply a little bit more bronzer on your skin. But there are so many factors that people do not understand with sunless tanners, tanner drops, spray tans, all of that. One, it's normally synthetic crap for your
Totally
skin.
synthetic. It clogs your pores like nothing I've ever seen before. I can't tell you how many people come to me and say, I don't know what's going on with my skin. And I see that they have self tanner on, and I'm like, it's the self tanner.
So, and I'm glad that you said that too, because I typically rule of thumb in our clinic, there are many things, everybody, that Aerolase can treat. There are so many conditions that Aerolase can treat, but the one thing I am a stickler on, if you have spray tan on your skin
Cannot
and
treat.
we're using Aerolase, it's not going to happen. If you have synthetic tanner like that on your skin, it's not going to happen
It's like
because
having makeup on.
and it will cause folliculitis. In some cases, you could have worse things happen to your skin. But the reason be, I tell patients rule of thumb at least 2 weeks post any sunless tanner, tanning drop, synthetic spray tan, any of that. And I had a patient come in and she was 2 weeks post. I took alcohol to her skin, Catie. Nope. Still stuck in those pores because she wasn't exfoliating and it wasn't completely out. And I had to tell her, you're going to come back in 2 more weeks because I'm not going to take that chance and that risk to do her a disservice with her skin. Because heaven forbid, if we would have and she got folliculitis, that could have caused
Oh, yeah.
unwanted PIH to her skin or any other
Mhm.
pigmentation to her skin. So, people, please listening,
Don't put self tanner on your face.
if
It's
you
so
I wouldn't even do it on your body, but if you have to do it, but it will pronounce. How many patients have you had, Catie, that say, oh my gosh, like I use this tanner on my face and now I feel like all my brown spots are coming up. It's a
they
thing.
are.
It's a thing because
Yeah.
it's adapting to that. So
It's
it's a thing.
adapting to it. And it also is clogging pores. The ingredients in these self tanners is terrible. And I don't care if they say there's a special one, it's all natural. It's that none
No,
of them,
no,
good.
I
And there are
completely agree with
so
it.
many products out there like this bronzer. There's so many,
Medical grade.
medical grade tinted sunscreens that can give you, and then you can use like a mineral based powder to give
Mhm.
you a bronze look. You don't need to use a tanning cream.
Your skin does look good today.
Oh, thanks. It's a
Mhm.
little shiny.
No, I like it. It's nice and glowy. For all of you just listening out there, I've been struggling with my lighting in my room here. The
Yeah,
last time
great.
we were on camera, Catie said it looked like I was like underground in a rave, and I just took a time out to come chat with you all. So hopefully my lighting gets better, but I'm in the same office I'm always in. So I aspire to be Catie and very dewy and glowy next time and
I'm
bright.
very bright today. I
I
guess it's
like it. I
this
like it.
one.
So yeah, I think people have a misconceived perspective on pigmentation, melasma,
Absolutely do.
traditional PIH, all of those things. But please know that if you're a patient spending money in a clinic and they decide to do, let's say, an Aerolase Neo device on your skin for your underground pigment, your superficial pigment, any of those things, it may take longer than 2 to 4 treatments.
Yeah.
It might take a little bit longer, but please know that that's going to be so much better for your skin than giving you that quick fix and putting a band-aid on it, because now we're going to get through all the layers, all the chromophores to make sure your skin stays clear rather than just putting a band-aid on it really quick for the summer.
And, just to be clear, pigment is formed from the amount of melanin people have
The
in their,
melanocytes. Yep.
and the melanocytes are what is creating this. Okay. So the more melanin that someone has in their skin, which is determined, by their skin type, we
And
know.
hopefully everybody out there, whether they're in a practice treating people or they're a customer in a practice, please, please, please tell me that whoever's in charge of your skin in a laser division has asked you your ethnic background, your nationality, your heritage, because if they're not doing their job.
Yes, because that's going to help us to determine how much melanin is actually in your skin. Because we could look at Ashlee and she looks fair, but potential melanin in her skin could be activated by a laser, by a heat-based, device, by the sun, even though she looks and appears that she has fair skin, blue eyes.
And everybody that I train, we go over this, Catie, because I am one that's really hard to discuss with nationality and ethnic background. I look very fair, blonde hair, blue eyes, light skin. Do I tan really well in the summer if I allow it? Yes. I'm actually American Indian and Italian. So, with that being said, I'm automatically a Fitzpatrick 4 because I have so much underlying melanin in my skin, and people would never notice that. So, that's why it's extremely important that whoever's treating your skin goes over those things with you, because if they're not, they're doing you a disservice.
Yes, it is so important. And can you, as you go along in their treatment, maybe as you get to know their skin a little better, and if they, are tolerating a certain energy, you can go, up, but in the beginning, you have to treat them as a 4, even though Ashlee is so fair. She needs to be treated properly and treated at her true skin type,
Absolutely.
not what she looks like. So,
and I treat myself every day, just so everybody knows, as a 3, but it's because I'm in charge of that, and I know that I've had treatments.
Right. You have history. And then the last thing I want to talk a little bit about pigmentation is we'll call it freckles. Lentogens is the official name for them, but freckles are pigmentation. Yes. Freckles also can get worse and activated from the sun. Definitely. But there are sun freckles, which is just, sunspots, pigmentation, but there are freckles that come when, say, a little person, a little child is 4 or 5 years old and they just come out. They're hereditary.
Okay. So I'm glad that you said that, because can we just tell everybody right now, when I run into, I have a lot of friends that are redheads and freckles, and I love them and they're so fun. But I love when they tell me, I was born with these freckles. Can we please talk about this? Nobody's born with freckles. It's hereditary, and it probably is going to happen. My 2 little guys that are 8 and 10, they have freckles across their nose. That does not mean that I have neglected to put sunscreen on them. It is hereditary, and they grow out of it, because when I was a little girl, I had some freckles too. And yes, I probably have removed those prematurely because I'm in the aesthetic industry, but they would probably go away on their own as I age, as long as I'm protecting my skin. So that is hereditary. But
some people are just going to get freckles just because they're hereditary. And then some people go into their adult life and do have freckles still. And, I'm asked a lot, can you get rid of my freckles? Well, they are a bit more of a challenge to remove than just a typical sunspot. Right. So, it is possible to lighten freckles and to work on them, but sometimes they can be a little bit more challenging to remove.
And if it's truly hereditary freckles, it's definitely going to kind of keep coming back out as well. We can lighten, we can't get rid of them 100%. And I think too, with that conversation, Catie, and this kind of goes for all pigmentation issues, there are things you can do out there that are non-chemical based lightener and brighteners.
Yes.
On the market that you can do during the summer months. One of my all-time favorites, as you know, is Enhanced Brightening Complex from Glytone.
I love that.
It is a 12% azelaic blend, 3% glycolic. So you're getting that natural exfoliation.
Yeah, let's just say that again. It's Enhanced Brightening Complex by Glytone. You can get it on their website, Glytone USA. It's one of my favorite brightening products. It just works phenomenal.
With reds and browns, because a lot of times when patients have browns, they have reds, especially with melasma.
Yep. GlytoneUSA.com.
Enhanced Brightening Complex.
But when you're using this in conjunction with your Arrowlace treatments, it's going to help
so much more significantly.
And that's, again, here we go back to home care and the importance of home care and combining laser, with your home care, your results are going to get there so much faster.
Yep. Or your peels and dermaplaning with
And
it all.
Glytone also has phenomenal peels
Mhm.
that work really well with pigment. I mean, I know you have your favorite and I have my favorite for pigment, but that's just because I like it probably for my skin.
Yep.
But, you know, there's so many peels that they carry.
And I think it's really important for people to understand it doesn't cost an astronomical amount to get these products either. I think it retails for $78. And there are so many clinical scientific studies on this specific product to help. And like you said, going back to home care, 80% of your skincare is at home and 20% is in clinic with us. As much as we'd like to see you every day, we know that's not feasible for everybody. So remember, if you have crappy home care, you might as well save your money on the in-clinic.
Absolutely. And just happen to have a box of peels. So the Glytone for your clinic will come in a box like this. And inside the box, you'll see there are multiple peels. So I think that you get about 15.
Yep, 15 vials.
Yeah, 15 vials in a box. So, and most of them come in a series of 3. They also have a lip and eye peel for brightening, which is really unbelievable. It does such a good job at brightening your eyes. And
then I have this enhanced brightening complex.
Oh yeah, put it a little closer because you
I'm going to take it out of the box. I want to show everybody. Enhanced brightening complex right here.
That is like my favorite, one of my favorite products. I use that every evening.
I always tell people it's small but mighty because it's a 1 ounce bottle. But with that being a 1 ounce bottle, it lasts a long, long way. And I'm actually, the reason why I have this right here is because I have a little goodie bag made up that I am sending our behind the scenes producer Fatima to get her started with some good skincare journey too. And there I go. I now went into the dark side again on my lighting. So,
but you know, I also, that a product amazes me how well it does for reds too. Pinks, you know, the pinks and reds.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I mean, even rosacea patients, if they're not super sensitive, it works phenomenally. And you're getting that exfoliation that you need to turn over your cells.
The mandelic acid superficial peel, the new ones, the little peel jars.
Oh, the micro peels.
The micro peels.
Yes.
I'll use the mandelic with that over top of it. And it keeps my rosacea so calm and my perioral dermatitis.
So for pigmentation, they have tranexamide acid. And that
I'm kind of using it more for the reds
and like your perioral.
Yeah.
But I will say, if you ever want to use something to stabilize for pigmentation, that tranexamide acid is amazing.
Yes, I love that.
Catie and I could sit here and talk about products all day long.
I know we're talking about pigment, but so anyway, real quick, we're going to just talk. We have melasma. We talked about that's a condition. We have pigment that's caused from the outside sources, trauma, so forth and so on. And then we have freckles, lentigines that are hereditary. All 3 of them are pigmentation, but all 3 of them are very different.
Very different.
As far as melasma goes, it is very affected by heat. The Arolase Neo is the only device that I would safely use on melasma.
I back you on that.
Peel, it works amazing. Remember that with regular pigmentation, the only way you're going to get it to go and to stay gone is to use a device like the Arolase Neo. Any IPL or BBL is just going to give a wow factor for pigmentation. It's not going to take it away long term. So although you may have to be slightly more patient, you're going to get a long-term effect.
The longevity of it's going to exceed itself. So,
and then your freckles are questionable. Some people, they're easier to lighten. Some people have so many and it's a little bit more difficult, but if they're hereditary, it can be a little more difficult to get them going.
And you weren't born with them.
Yes. And then the important things we talked about are sunscreen, medical grade, mineral based. It's so important. It's crucial. If you want to, get some color or tint, get a tinted one. And then also using things like a brightener at home. like Ashlee showed, the enhanced brightening complex. There's a lot of different ones, and make sure that they're all medical grade and you're using them in conjunction with your pigmentation treatments in your medical spa.
And with the pigmentation regulators and helpfulness with that, please, please, I don't know who would do this, but just so you know, if you're going to be in the summer months, do not use your hydroquinones. If you're getting hydroquinones, you do not use them in the sun. You do not use them when you're going to be overexposed at the beach. Just simply take 3 months off during the summer months and do not use hydroquinone. You need more natural lightener based products.
I just feel like even with hydroquinone now, there's so many other things out there that work so well that are more natural for brightening that,
a big hype right now is tranexamic acid. It literally can go toe to toe on the charts with it.
I tend to lean towards that so much more.
I agree. So everyone, let's go over some pros and cons, or some myths and not myths. It's a myth that you're born with freckles. Sorry.
Yes. No, you will never see a baby with freckles coming out of the womb.
No.
It is also a myth that you can completely cure melasma.
Never going to happen. You can clear it. You can't cure it.
Yes.
What's another one?
A pro is to be using a product in conjunction with your in-spa treatments.
That's a major pro. And if they don't want to do that, honestly, as a clinician, we're doing them a disservice by not having them use 80% of their skincare at home. It's good medical grade skincare. It is also a pro that I would say in the last 5 years, the advancements in tinted SPF, bronzing SPFs, blurring pore SPF, all of that. The name of the wave right now is tinted SPF, and I love that. I love it.
I'm not one for. I don't like a lot of makeup to begin with, and I really don't like foundation, but I love a tinted sunscreen.
It's one of my favorites. And you can have a really great sunscreen with other additives to it, like coenzyme Q10, reparazones, really great stuff inside your sunscreen.
Hyaluronic acid. There's, so many
niacinamides. Yep,
absolutely.
I'm trying to think of another pro. I don't want to do too many cons or myths. What's another pro? It is a pro to go do your Aerolase Neo Elite for pigmentation, because 100%. That is what I use it for.
And don't let it fool you that, just because IPL gives you that wow factor, that's all it is. It's a wow factor. It's not a long-term journey of removing your pigment.
Which I do get why a lot of clinics do that, because it makes their patients come back.
No,
but if their patients are going to be trustworthy of them, though, let's get the root of it. Let's get it off.
Yeah. And the pain of, I cannot take the pain from IPL or BBL.
It's pretty spicy, like a rubber band snap to the face.
And where Aerolase is not spicy, and it's a cure. It's good. It's going, as long as you follow the outside of the spa with your sunscreens or whatever, you're going to remove that for a long term.
And this is another great one. If it doesn't hurt, it doesn't work. That's a lie.
That's not true.
That is a lie.
That is.
If it doesn't hurt, it does work. I mean, if it's Aerolase.
Yes. And Aerolase does not hurt.
Well, I think that wraps it up, Catie.
Hopefully we cleared up some pigment issues and broke it down a little so that people can understand it better.
I think we did. And again, our favorites, obviously there's tons and tons of SPFs out there, but as everybody knows, we are very good about heavily talking about Glytone, Aven, Aerolase. Of course, we both train for Aerolase, so we love Aerolase so much. And I love it because it's made the practice that I'm in so successful. All three of those lines.
It's just phenomenal. It's a game changer.
So we hope we helped everyone today, one skin guru at a time. And Yeah, we'll be back soon to do our next podcast. And I don't know what the subject will be, but I'm sure it will be something good. We always have something
Yeah,
good.
it's easy to come up with subjects.
So this was 17 with pigmentation problems. Hopefully we helped everybody. Thank you for joining myself, Ashlee Bunkelman and Catie
Bye.
Cutler on Peeling Back the Truth. And we hope everyone has a wonderful day.
Yep. Bye.
Bye.